everyone. Welcome to another interesting and inspiring episode of Love and Marriage with Seyi, where we celebrate thriving marriages and sow success seeds and wisdom nuggets for growth. Thank you for being here with us today. Excited to introduce our couple for today. Dr. and Mrs. Fawole have been married for almost 4 decades. They met as college sweethearts, and they have built a thriving relationship. Dr. Fawole is a dentist as well as a medical practitioner. Mrs. Fawole is an attorney, and they are both family, marriage, and relationship coaches. They are the founders of Optimum Families, an organization that builds up families and strengthens the community. Mrs. Fawole, we must mention, is a TED Talk speaker. Join me as I welcome Dr. and Mrs. Fawole. Thank you for being here with us today. Now, I have known you guys for a good minute. And my first question to you is, how did you guys meet?
Well, we actually met in college. And I'm looking at the time frame now. We're in August. I think roughly we met about this time 44 years ago. In
44
college.
years ago.
44 years ago in college, around August September of year 1979 at the University of Ife, Ile-Ife in Nigeria. I was actually sent with a note to a friend from Ibadan. I was visiting the School of Nursing. Cannot tell you exactly what I went to do at the School of Nursing where ladies are filled. So a friend of my wife today gave me a note to give to our friend that just came to college. And lo and behold, I went in, I saw her, I handed her the note, and this woman was gorgeous. Simplicity with, was gorgeously simple and very attractive. And that was the beginning of it all. And here we are, 44 years after. To God be the glory.
Hallelujah.
Wow, to God be the glory. Looking at you both, I'm thinking at the time you must have been in your teenage years or just a little past teenagehood.
Yeah.
You're
For
right.
me, late teenage. Yeah, I was 19 and he was 20.
No. You were 18.
Well, going
and
to
I was
19 the same
I was going to 18, 1979. He was going to 18 and I was going to 19. But because I have had a few bad experiences, because some of the ladies that I met before, I told them my real age, and it just happened that they were older than me. And so they would not go with me. But this time around, I was 19 and I told her I was 21, just in case. So that I could have the buffer, of those years until I got to know that I was actually a year older than her.
Sir, so you got attracted to her by her physical looks. She was gorgeous. She was, beautiful. And that's good. It's always the physical that attracts. But tell me one thing about her that kept you going back, that kept you getting more and more interested in her?
Well, I remember that I said she was simple in nature, very conservative. And I remember those values that she was emitting to me, the value system that she brought to the table was very attractive. We had to go to Bible studies, and she guarded some areas of our lives very intimately, and that was very, very impressive in those days with guarded boundaries. You know, as young men, when you come in those days, there are quite a few things that you want from a lady. In addition to the fact that they look pretty, there are other things that you want. And I could remember that I was guarded in retrospect. After we have lived so many years, I could understand exactly what was going on when we came to learning about some concepts in marriage, the concepts of love bank. I did not know anything about love bank in those days, but what was happening was that she was very hospitable. I would go in there and she would treat me. She would give me some cookies to entertain me. We would sit together, and I did not know that she was already depositing love units
Into your love bag,
in my imaginary love account. And she kept on building on that, and it was very irresistible for me, and that was what kept me going back and back. Even in those days that we will get a little bit mad with each other, or maybe I get mad with her. Maybe she didn't really get mad with me, but I would get mad with her. But there was no other place I wanted to be, even in my madness. I still remember that I would still want to be with her. I may not want to talk, but I would still want to be with her.
Ma'am, I'm coming to you. Tell me two things. One, how did you guard? Now, he said, as a man, you have ideas and things, but you guarded. Yet, you kept him coming back. Now, we're speaking here to our young folks. We're speaking here to our love and marriage hopefuls. How does a lady guard herself, yet keep the man coming back? Now, I know he talked about the cookies, but I'm sure it was more than the cookies.
Well, you just guard yourself. You can't help him coming back or no, because sometimes you guard yourself and someone will decide because of that they're not coming. That's right. But in this case, if the value of me guarding myself aligned with the value that he appreciates, that's why he kept coming back. So guarding yourself is just saying no, and and no means no. You don't need any explanation for that. And somehow to him, I think he was looking at the future, that even though he's not getting the instant gratification that he needs now, he feels that this is someone that will benefit me for the future, because that's a value that he appreciates. I'm sure that it's possible that if it was another man, he may say, you know what, you're saying no, I'm out of here, because he's not looking at some values that endure. And that's what, people also need to know. If you're a man and you don't have values, you don't have any expectations, you don't have something that you think is important to you, and all you want to do is probably just sleep around, you probably end up with the wrong lady.
You have hit the nail on the head. Let's stop here for a minute. Now, you said something. You said this was yours. You guarded it. You said no, and that was it. But he kept coming back because it meant something to him. So going back to my ladies. So is it all right to think of yourself, not of the guy? If he doesn't want to wait and he wants to go, let him go. But think about yourself and what your values are, what makes you feel good. Is that all right for the ladies out there to think that way?
Absolutely. And that's the way they need to think. And it's very important for ladies especially to know that your stance before marriage is different from after marriage. And I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said, before you get married, keep one eye open and one shut. But when you get married, keep both eyes closed, because you are now married. That's why it's very important to be careful about the choice, because once you get married, you can't just hop out of it. But before you are married, you have all the rights. Be yourself, be your authentic self so that you will attract someone that wants you just the way you are. If you pretend to be someone else, you're going to be attracted to the wrong person because your real self will always show up. So yes, if you want to guard yourself, if that's how you are, think about yourself. Before marriage, you just have to think about yourself. You have to be selfish. Is this man going to be good for me? Is he going to be with me for the long run? I have to test that out. So at that point, you are thinking about yourself more.
Now we live in a real world. Nobody wants to be alone. For a lot of men, they go out there and they'll find another lady. But for this young lady who is being chased, who is doing the right things, but is alone, it's difficult. I mean, you're lucky and blessed that he wanted that. He appreciated that. But for those ladies who keep attracting the guys who don't appreciate that, so the guys just keep rolling and rolling and rolling away. None is staying. Time is going. What do you say to those ladies?
Well, I'm a believer, so I will always come from that point. You have to trust God for your mate. And I always say, you only need one man. Out of this whole world, out of the billions of people that are on this earth, God surely can provide the one man that you need. Because if you compromise your belief, that means you are disobeying God, and then you are expecting God to bless this relationship and to bless you in your future. You can't expect him to do that. So you have to keep, if you are being chased because of your trust in God, because you are trying to obey his word, then you have to believe that he will also come through for you at the right time. So you just have to be patient. And I know it's very difficult. I met him at 18. So it's easy for me to say to a 28-year-old, maybe 38-year-old, I acknowledge that it is very difficult. But it's not only in marriage, in many instances in our lives, whether business or whatever, there are times when it's easy to do the wrong thing, but you just have to do the right thing for the right reason and trust God. It's hard.
Wow. This is powerful. Sir, tell me, and I want you to think of the young men out there. We live in a world where, sexuality is different from what it really was intended to be by God. And from what I hear, a lot of the young men are not playing. If you're not going to hop in the sack with me, I'm not going to waste my time with you. But I want you to speak to a young man out there, about the values, about the qualities of looking for the right girl, forgetting about the sack, forgetting about the bedroom, but thinking about tomorrow and going for the right values.
Yes, thank you very much. And that is something that a lot of people, a lot of our young men will need to understand right from the outset, that relationship that is going to last needs time to build up. It's not some kind of, you need to exercise what we refer to as delayed gratification. And I think that's the key out of the whole thing. But I want to go back to the decision when I really made the decision of saying that this is going to be my wife. Was not only because I thought that she was attractive and she was beautiful or she was God-fearing alone that would benefit me. I thought a little bit also out of my own self. I was raised by a single mother who raised 3 children, 3 out of the 3 remaining out of total of 6 children. And I thought that the way my wife today was in those days was such that I thought she would be a very good daughter or additional child that would take care of my mother. And so we cannot be selfish about having someone only for ourselves. And for our young folks out there, for our young men out there, you need to think beyond, think beyond only yourself, think more into the future, what kind of person you want to share your whole life with, what kind of person do you want to raise your children, what kind of value system do you want to pass across to the next generation. Those are the kind of things, even at 19 years old, I was able to think through all those. And that actually propelled me in being so, what shall I say? Because I was very consistent. If you ask certain questions that come to that area, I'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that, because it was not easy getting my wife in those days. So we courted for 6 years before we finally got married. But in between, before that marriage, before the wedding took place, it was like an uphill battle. But to God be the glory, we won the battle.
And you're still winning the battle, right?
To God's
Head
glory.
together, smiling, smiling. I thank you very much for what you've shared. When I listen to what Sir has said, I'm thinking about you were 19, you knew what you wanted. You could think beyond yourself, to your future, your children, to the back, your parents, how she could relate, to your mother and all of that. We live in a world now where folks, I don't care if my mom likes her or not, this is who I want to marry, this is who I'm going to marry. We live in a world now where the media, to a large extent, dictates what's going on in the society. It's not like it used to be. And so we're finding 28-year-olds, 35-year-old men who are not looking for wives. They'll date you for a long time, and then they don't want to get settled. They don't want to marry you. And, I believe that if the man is willing, it'll be easier. When you find someone that can lead well, the woman will follow suit and will be happy following. But when we have men who are not seeming to think far and broadly, far and wide, what is the effect it's having on our women? What is the effect it's having on the community? What is one thing that a man can think of or can do to just move forward in life? Because marriage affects every area of life.
Certainly. And I'm still at a loss for words in the way to describe our current generation. I think if I can use one word, I think they are very idealistic rather than being realist. They want to have everything, and they want to live the kind of life they want to ride, the kind of vehicle, and those kind of things. And we know that those things are not going to carry you through difficult moments of your lives, because difficult times will definitely come. In any kind of human relationship, there's bound to be conflict. So if you are so idealistic, does it mean that when the next conflict comes, which would come, are you going to jump out of the window because of that? And so that is one thing that our young men especially would need to really calm down. We are family life coaches, and we've seen how this has turned out in some young marriages. We hear things when they're not well prepared, when the foundation is shaky. And that is why the foundation that my wife was referring to earlier is the key to a lasting relationship. You have to get it right. It's the foundation, ability to talk things over, ability to be vulnerable right from the beginning, to ask the right questions. And if there are red flags that you think are deal breakers, at that point, it's safer to break the deal at that point than to pretend as if things are going right and jump into it. Quite a number of them have jumped into it, and as quickly as they jump into it, they're ready to jump out. And so, and I think that is part of the things that are affecting them. In our days, we were very fast. I would say that I was one of the slowest men in talking to women, but I could, because at that time I couldn't talk to a woman, but I learned the art of talking to women. So you have to learn it, because some of our men, they really want to, but they don't know how to. Quite a number of them are shy about it. And then they try to cover up with a lot of things. But you just need to speak to them and just express your authentic self. Just like you said, women are nurturers, and we are the ones that will chase them and run after them, not the other way. We cannot change those kind of values that we were raised with. You are the man. You are the one to go out and make a proposal to a woman, not to expect the woman to start chasing you around.
I also think that men today, I've heard from young men that they are scared. I think because of failing marriages, they are not really sure. Do I really want to get into this? So that's another thing. And that's an indictment on us as married couples.
Yes. Yes, that is very true. I was going to ask you, ma'am, speaking to young ladies out there, women out there, from your experience, a lot of men talk about, the women are just a little too much for them. They're too high achieving. Matter of fact, there's a research out now that's saying one of the biggest reasons for divorce is career. People are chasing their careers each way and, each person going for what works best for them. As a woman, you met your husband at the age of 18, kept him till he became your boyfriend. And you've been married for 40 plus years? And you guys are here smiling. Evidently, you are doing something because the Bible tells me that a wise woman builds her home. So you share with us one thing that a woman, applicable to a young 21-year-old, a 55-year-old, that a woman can do to build a relationship, to keep her man coming after her and to satisfy him while still satisfying herself and being authentic.
Okay. So you started with career. So I think it's an understanding that we all need to have, even as a society and even women, that your career does not define you. I know that a lot of times men think before you ask them anything, they want to talk about what they do, but that's not reality. So I think that's a fundamental thing, that a career does not define a human being. I always talk about this. I mean, I have had great teachers in my life, people who actually change destinies of people. A lot of people have had those experiences with some teachers, but apparently society doesn't really appreciate teachers. So there's a certain amount of salary that they have. But society places a high value on actors and actresses and football players. Does that mean that a football player who is a millionaire or a billionaire standing next to a teacher who makes $60,000, does that mean that basketballer is a better human being, is a more impactful human being? Clearly, no. So I think we all need to get that. And then once you have that, you begin to look for the qualities that a man has. So I think as women, you just might end up being in a profession that society appreciates. And so you're making $500,000, $300,000. And then your husband or the man is in a profession that society has not deemed fit to have a high salary. That the woman should know that this does not define my man. I can actually have a godly man, a leader, someone who just has all these qualities, a family man, someone who is, just all the qualities of a nice human being. So I think women should come from that perspective and not just want to say, oh, it's my money and because of that. And so the way to keep your man, it's just everyone. You have to meet the needs of a man. And the needs of every man is different, but there are some that are universal, like respect. The career issue is something that affects a lot of women so that they cannot respect. They feel that they cannot respect this man because he makes half my income or 1/4 my income. That is a mistake. It is the need of every man that God put in there, because it's in the Bible that wife should submit and husband should love, because the God who created men knows that this is a need. So one way to keep a man, if I would say something, is to meet that need of respect, regardless of whether your income is higher or not. So I'll just stop there.
Let me ask you, just give us one example of how you respect your husband and how a woman can respect her husband. What is one thing that is respect?
Okay, I'll give you an example. My favorite example of how God really taught me about submission. So it's been many, many years ago. We were planning a camp meeting, the first camp meeting that we were going to have as Nigerian Christians, And so I was very much involved. The meetings were happening in our home. At that time, my husband was in the islands. He was in the islands. He was in St. Lucia for like 16 months. He would come home every month. So he wasn't really part of the day-to-day, everything that was happening. So I was really a part of it. We were all excited. This was going to be the first meeting and all of that. It was going to be in the woods. And we were planning and, I was telling my husband about everything. He was all into it. And then all of a sudden, when it was about a few days to go, my husband, we were talking on the phone and he was like, I don't think I want you to go for that camp meeting. You're going to be there. First of all, you're going to drive to 4 hours. You're going to be in the woods with 4 children. And his mother was with us at the time and with mom. That's just, I don't think I want you to do that when I'm not there. And I'm like, am I hearing right? like I'm one of the planners. So 3 days to go, you're just going to tell me that I can't drive there, or I can't be alone with them or whatever. I couldn't understand it. And he was so insistent that he didn't want me to go. And I was like, but I don't know. Maybe at that time I was actually studying about submission or whatever. And then I thought about it that, you know what? If I insist on going, I can. And this is with a lot of women. Is I have the money, so I can. I can. You really can't stop me. He was thousands of miles away. He really couldn't stop me. I could actually take the car, take the children, go. But I knew that I wouldn't have his blessing. And that means that it will cause a fight. And when I came back, I probably wouldn't be able to share this experience with him. I think we've been attending that camp meeting now for 20-something years. He probably would never have been a part of it if he started that way. So you know what I told him? I said, you know what? If that is how you want to use your God-given authority, I will not go. And then as soon as I said it, it was like, oh, no, I don't have any authority. Oh, please go. And we went. And I think it was just because he acknowledged the fact that I respected him enough to be able to say no.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, sir?
No, she talked about meeting the needs of your partner. And it goes both ways too, supporting the recreation and whatever interest that your wife wants to do. That's another key area. We got the respect, but at the same time, the women also want the love, and they just want they want the security. And so if they have any kind of interest, that is one thing that I always say, that you study each other. You can decide that you are going to outdo each other. If you outdo each other when you have recognized their needs, it's mutual in nature. And so whatever interests my wife, I have to make sure that I have to acknowledge that, validate that, and also give her the support. And so she did it for me, and it's reciprocal in nature.
Wow. I think that is just the sum of it all, because a lot of women have that issue with submission, because it is often made to sound like the woman only has to submit. But what you have said is it goes both ways. Submission goes both ways. But I like what she said as well, because if we as women walk in that knowledge, let's honor our husbands, respect them, submit to him, it becomes almost natural for them to also honor us and think of us above. Our guest last month said that submission provokes love. Submission challenges you to love even more. So this is what you have also said in a different way. Thank you so much for all you've put in. Now, I cannot stop clapping for them. That was a phenomenal interview. For my love and marriage hopefuls, so many nuggets, be authentically yourself. It doesn't matter what the person coming to you is looking for or is after. Be authentically yourself. Those that want to be with you, those that value you, will appreciate the authenticity of who you are and will continue with you, because it is that authenticity that is you that's going to carry you through that relationship. And for those in marriages as well, remain authentically yourselves. Don't change for anybody, because there cannot be two of anybody. There's only one of you. So just remain authentically yourselves. Married, single, respect is key. Respect your partner. Give respect to the man, give respect to the woman, and together you will build a strong marriage. This has been an awesome session, and I thank you for being here with us today. Now, if you have not subscribed, go on ahead and do that. And as you subscribe, go on ahead as well and share to your friends and to your families, because above all else, we want to strengthen every marriage and build successful relationships. Until I see you again next month and beyond, the good Lord bless and keep us all.